Hi everyone, very excited on this new episode of Words, Images, and Worlds to be talking with comics creator Brian Box Brown. Brian, thank you for jumping in, joining, and rocking the very cool glasses as well.
Anytime. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I first discovered your work. A friend of mine gave me Tetris, and I really enjoyed your exploration there. I love what you do in comics with exploring history and nonfiction topics, as well as some fiction ones as well. And went on to read Andre the Giant, your book about Andy Kaufman, Is This Guy for Real? And of course, most recently, The He-Man Effect, which changed the way that I viewed the 80s. So big appreciator of your work over here.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah,
That's good to
absolutely.
hear.
Yeah, yeah. I always know I'm going to get something interesting and creative from you.
Uh,
Well, I'm curious how you decided that comics were the space that you wanted to create in.
um, Geesh. I couldn't really get from here to there with prose. I think I started trying to write fiction, and I just couldn't get from the beginning to the end. There's something about drawing the pictures that helps me like get all the way through from start to finish, which was something I couldn't do. I'd always get lost trying to write. I'd get stuck. I'd not know where to go. But somehow with comics, like the drawing just makes it easier or makes it. I don't know. The drawings know where to go sometimes when the words fail you.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that. And your work, you pull in a lot of research and um, basis in facts. I'm curious about what you would want to share with listeners about the He-Man effect, including any kind of research process that went into that, because I imagine there were interviews and other things that were part of that.
Yeah. There was a lot of so I interviewed a bunch of people involved, children's television activist historians and things like that. Trying to think, the guy who runs um, He-Man Con, Power Con, I think it's called.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Um, other authors. Talking with some Mattel executives. Was able to, talk with them a little or email with them a little bit back and forth. Um, but this is a lot of stuff that I was just interested in.
Mhm.
Some of it is pulled from the, and I would recommend checking this out. The parts about Bernays, a lot of them came from The Century of Self, which is a four-part BBC documentary
Mhm.
um, by Adam Curtis. It's really interesting, and his work's really always like mind-blowing type stuff. Um, so yeah, his that was really part of the research as well. Um, researching and going back and looking at the old toys,
Mhm.
which was really my favorite part of making the book was getting to draw the old characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, um, just so much. There's just so the research process is like exhaustive, um, and just to try to finding everything. There's just so much. There's even the bibliography is just a partial bibliography because there's still like it would be like 200 pages long to keep the entire thing in there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's an interesting connection there too in topics with Child Star being about
Mm,
children's television and this book
yeah,
as well. So almost a fiction, nonfiction kind of companion.
yeah. A lot of stuff that I watched when I was a kid. I mean, um, actually, those two things were on like one after another. I think because you'd watch a bunch of cartoons after school, and then it would roll right into old sitcoms from the earlier 80s and the late 70s.
Hmm.
So it was
Hmm.
like Different Strokes, Facts of Life, um, What's Happening, all those types of shows. And then, of course, later on, the sitcoms, got Mr. Belvedere, and it was just like a weird, I didn't really realize it, but the sitcom kind of had a renaissance in the 80s. Like it kind of
Hmm.
like uh gone away for a little while, and because the sitcom was how the TV began. Like the first TV shows were sitcoms, kind of Ozzie and Harriet and stuff like that, like this family sitcom situation. And
Hmm.
you know, and then they disappeared for a while. I guess they were out of fashion for a while, and then there was this renaissance in the 80s with really they with Cosby Show, they said, and Family Ties, and then there was Growing Pains. It was like this regular. They went like back to basics, kind of. Yeah, but anyway, this is all stuff that I'm interested in. Like I watch 80s stuff all the time. Like find myself watching Phil Donahue on YouTube all the
Uh-huh.
time, which is like to me, it's a travesty that there's no place to go to watch like the complete Donahue.
Yeah.
Like it's just like it should be on Max, right? Like
Yeah,
there's like 30
absolutely.
years long of of all these weird, you know, he broached a lot of interesting topics for the time period, and even though like and Oprah kind of like did it took the took the format
Hmm.
and went further with it than he did. Um, but that was like his show. And then there was, Jerry Springer, which was kind of like a parody of Phil Donahue. But to me, I think that's like one of my favorite 80s shows.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, talk about looking at something for some creative inspiration, like the number of things that you could pull out of that show alone, I'm sure. It's just,
Amazing.
it's yeah,
Oh my God, it's amazing. And it to me the this is, I'm sure, like off topic because I'm not talking about comics at all, but
it's
to
cool.
me
That works.
the ending of that show when they would have the audience ask questions,
Yeah.
that those questions are basically like the comment section under any like article where
Right.
there's like people that didn't even really read the article and have a bunch of stuff to say. They just go kind of on a rant. That's kind of like what everybody's comments commentary is like at the end. It's very funny
It's like you were sitting there thinking this the entire time.
the
All
whole
right.
time.
Yeah.
But
Well, from Tetris to Andre the Giant, to Cannabis to the He-Man effect, and many other places in between. I'm curious about how you kind of select the next projects and kind of filter them out, I
well,
guess
I
even.
mean, you know, um, it's hard to say. I mean, for a while it was um, kind of easy, and now it's kind of getting a little bit tough to come up with something that's worthwhile. Um, I think I was on a on a roll for a while,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
things have slowed down a little. So like right now, I'm not really working on. I have a comic strip that I do, but I'm
Hmm.
not really working on another nonfiction book at the moment. I'm working on a fiction book, um, very very slowly, but uh, I don't have a nonfiction project right now. So um, I feel like I come up with ideas all the time, but it's hard. It's hard to get publishers to play ball at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's good that you have like the strip as an outlet, fiction as an outlet, lots of creative spaces, and I mean the comic strip has its own demands with like that
Yeah,
regular routine kind of thing.
yeah. If I could do that, just the comic strip, I would be so happy. I
Yeah.
would do it every day though, or like more often. And I like it. I like having that regular routine. Because I hadn't done a comic strip in a long time, and I started doing this one 3 years ago, and it's definitely a different experience because you get to interact with your fan base just so often.
Hmm.
Whereas
Hmm.
like when you're working on a book, you kind of like uh go off into a cave for a couple of years and then come out. Oh, I found that I got it. And then you get to interact with your readership about it a little bit. But it's not the same as with the weekly strip. I get to talk to readers every week,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is fun and interesting and you know, it it fuels you a little bit to hear when people have read your stuff that you forget, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And talking about the like being in the cave and then getting out, it's like the Play-Doh thing. It's like, oh, I've been down here a while, and then you come back and it's like, I found this, guys. Look at this.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know, I've done this.
Yeah.
Um, but it's a lot of work. It is not for the faint of heart to make these books like this. It ends up, taking a really, really long time and
Hmm.
it's slow moving. You get to this point halfway through it where you're like, I'm never gonna finish this. Like I'm only halfway done and I've already, I have to do it all over again.
Hmm.
Um, um, and but you just keep chopping away at it and eventually the momentum picks up again later
Yeah.
on when you start to get closer to the ending, then you get excited, more excited about it. And you get that excitement back that you had when you started it. But there's this part in the middle. There's this part in the middle that can be where that's when you're doing the real work.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, curious about the places where people can go to check out the comic strip, to check out work that you're doing and updates and all of those kind of things.
So I update the comic strip most every Tuesday on Instagram,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, on the Box Brown Instagram page. Um, and it also has a Patreon, which I would ask everybody to go subscribe to. Um, but also, I'm on Twitter still and on Blue Sky still. But the comic also runs on the Comics Kingdom website, um, as well as it runs weekly in the Tucson Weekly, which is cool. It's like I'm like doing this '90s alt weekly way late in the into 2020s. Um, so yeah, you can see that, and it updates every week, and it's about cannabis legalization.
Hmm.
Um, and my favorite thing at this point is um when there's two people get into an argument in the comment section, and it lasts. Sometimes the argument will last like the whole week. Like they'll just keep going back and forth, talking trash to each other. I used to like really go in and police all that stuff and be like, no fighting, whatever. But
Hmm.
now there's just like too many comments and stuff, and I just sit back and watch like everybody else kind of, and just kind of make sure no one says anything that's like, all right, I gotta, super offensive that I have to delete off the page because it's. But I also like the idea that people are not necessarily fighting with each other, but having that the strip is provoking conversation.
Yeah, yeah. But that's what art should do, right? Everybody should
Yeah.
get involved in the conversation and maybe not fight, but maybe a robust conversation. So
Yeah, yeah. Passionate
that's right.
discussion. Yeah.
That's right. Very cool that you get to follow along with the comments too. That kind of rewards you in the process, and you get to see the
Yeah.
response.
It's weird, like because you go through this period of time where the comments are can be hurtful or
Mm-hmm.
what, or you're just like so sensitive about everything. But um, I've lately been a bit trying to be a bit take a step back a little bit and not take everything completely personally and let people just kind of like discuss the ideas
Hmm.
in the
Hmm.
comic without without personally thinking that they're attacking the comic or if they're talking about an idea in it or something like that.
Yeah,
But
true.
yeah, now I'm at a point where I like it. I like it. I like the conversation.
Yeah, yeah. Love that. Love that. Um, well, Brian, did we miss anything in the interview that you want to make sure to share? I promised you a brief
Oh,
talk.
no, no, that's okay. I think oh yeah, yeah, nothing else.
All right, all right. Well, I'm glad you're out there starting conversations and making art. And as I said at the beginning, I always know when I'm seeing your name on a work, I'm going to get something interesting and creative. So, looking forward to the work that's on the way as well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.